Toji is the new Gojo, or should I say, the old Gojo. Yes, you heard that right, folks. For the brief spell, we see Toji in the Gojo flashback arc, and if you want to count the Shibuya incident arc where he was a mindless killing machine until that moment he meets Megumi, his character, the way he acts, the charisma, the confidence, the sharp thinking in battle, all these traits you can also describe with Gojo. It was these very characteristics that made Gojo so popular in the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen. And I feel Toji, by the end of season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, will be the fan favorite character for everyone in the community. I think as a villain, Toji is the perfect enemy for Gojo. Gojo is a character that mainly relies on his curse techniques such as the Limitless and the Six Eyes. You hardly ever see him throw a punch or even use any weapons. I mean, he doesn't really need to because he's so overpowered. Now look at Toji. He is the complete opposite. He is a non-cursed user, as it was revealed by Yuki in chapter 77 that he is the only guy whom heavenly restriction has completely eradicated his cursed energy. Compare that to Gojo. With thanks to reverse curse technique, Gojo almost will never run out of cursed energy. That's not all. Toji is a pure physical fighter where he relies on his physical speed to overpower cursed spirits such as Geto's Rainbow Dragon in chapter 73, or completely speed blitzes Gojo's awareness and self-defense in chapters 71 and 72. As fighters, both Gojo and Toji are complete opposites. One uses curse techniques, the other uses brute physical strength. One uses curse tools to cancel out curse techniques, the other uses curse techniques to amplify the world of Limitless. They're both two sides of the same coin and they're both at the peak in their respective worlds. Toji is the assassin known to be the sorcerer killer, whilst Gojo is known to be the strongest sorcerer in the world. When you look at it this way, they're both perfect rivals, and yet Gojo himself could have ended up becoming like Toji. People forget Gojo was a bit of a prick before he spent time with Riko and got to know her properly, as she was the star plasma vessel who will merge with Master Tengen and will be erased as Principal Yaga described. When you read back chapter 65, mate, some of the stuff Gojo is saying you actually can't believe he's saying it. He's saying looking out for the weak is a pain, and being righteous, he hates things like that. And these are his own words, by the way. In chapter 67, he doesn't even care about Riko. He just wanted to get the mission over and done with by getting her back to Jujutsu High and having her merge with Master Tengen. On the other hand, you had Geto realizing that Riko is still a kid who's in school, and as soon as she merges with Master Tengen, she will never see her friends ever again. So it's important for her to have those precious moments of fun with her friends before it all ends after the merger. But Gojo doesn't have empathy to think like that. He genuinely didn't give a shit about anyone. Even Geto calls him out and says he doesn't know how to talk to people. That's why he's so rude. It's funny because this attitude of I don't give a shit about anyone, even kids, displayed by Gojo in these chapters, Toji has a similar moment in this arc as well in chapter 67. One of the associates who's working with the Star religious group asked Toji, "How's Megumi doing?" And Toji just replied, "Who's that?" And then later at the end of chapter 73, he remembers that Megumi is his son. And then later at the end of chapter 73, he finally remembers that Megumi is his son's name and it means blessings. This is your son's name. How do you forget about that? But you can see where I'm coming from in that both didn't have that compassionate, empathetic side to their character. I mean, Toji is the antagonist of this arc, so you can understand why Akutami chose for him to be cold and heartless. Whereas Gojo is the guy we're rooting for, and he's on that path towards the madness of Toji. Chapter 76, we see the followers of the Star religious group celebrating the death of Riko. Gojo asks Geto should they kill them all, in which Geto replies there's no point in killing them as the higher-ups are all gone. Gojo then asks should there be a reason for not killing them, as Geto just puts an end to this conversation. Gojo is at a tipping point, but towards the end of this arc and throughout the story so far in present day, we see Gojo be empathetic and be protective over his students. When he found out that the higher-ups in the Jujutsu world attempted to kill Yuji, he was going to march down there and kill all the higher-ups himself because of what they did to Yuji. Even Yuta in Jujutsu Kaisen 0, the higher-ups threaten Yuta, but Gojo tells them straight that he will be in Yuta's side if they come for him. So you can see how much Riko had an effect over Gojo, considering he wanted to get rid of her straight away and not give a shit about her feelings. Another similarity between the two characters I wanted to highlight is the need to destroy the pinnacle of the Jujutsu world. Toji in chapter 75 wanted to crush the Zenin family as well as Gojo, who are looked at as the pinnacle of power in the world of Jujutsu. Very similarly, Gojo also wants to destroy the hierarchy of the Jujutsu world and build new infrastructure to it. Here we can see both the similarity and the difference in what separates both Gojo and Toji. Toji wants to defeat the strongest family and the strongest sorcerer for the glory of it from a selfish perspective, whereas Gojo wants to change the pinnacle of Jujutsu world in order to help future generations, protecting normal human beings from cursed spirits, which in contrast is a very selfless and honorable thing to do. Gojo was selfish. He only cared about himself and no one else. He didn't care about the rules and didn't care about protecting people. But then Akutami introduced a character-defining fight against Toji to not only keep Gojo grounded, but to make him realize that Toji is basically the evil, twisted version of himself. You take away Gojo's empathy and compassion, you will end up with Toji. I feel like when Gojo was on the floor at death's door, that is when it hit him. That was when the old Gojo died, in my opinion. You see, when he returns in chapter 74, he's gone full madman. I feel that is him unleashing everything. We are seeing him at his truest self. The way Mahito pushed Yuji physically and mentally, that is what Toji did to Gojo here. But it's still insane that if this arc never happened in Gojo's life, then he would have ended up like Toji. But what do you guys think? Do you think Gojo would have ended up like Toji if it didn't witness the death of Riko? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the Shaman Tribe.